Right, this year we're looking to harvest the Eddoe leaves a little earlier, and one of the signs that we look for that we should be thinking about harvesting it now is that these stems that are growing out are quite substantial, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stems, and there should be more growth coming up from the middle centre parts. And the actual approach this time we're going to take is a slightly different one. Those of you who remember seeing the Eddoe harvesting clip from last year will remember that it was probably later on in the year, maybe around September, and what we did was we just cut it at the base right through. So the idea is that we'll just clear this whole area and give it a fertilizer feed, a nitrogen based feed, particularly because this is a foliage plant, and yeah, we should hopefully get a second crop this season. Quite therapeutic, this harvesting process. That's a mighty specimen. I think when I think back to last year's harvest, because it was a bit later on in the season, a number of the Eddoe leaves started to yellow around the edges. It didn't do anything in terms of the eating quality, because most of it was this stem here, and as I've said many times before, this crop needs cooking to make it edible. So I'll get on with the rest of the harvesting. Right, we're nearly done with the harvesting. I just want to show you in a close-up what I meant by just being careful and only getting the stem from the outside. Now here you can see I've got this vertical piece that's growing here. I want to keep that, and I'm pulling this final outside leaf away and just cutting it at the base there and pulling it away from the plant. This will mean that with time this particular stem will give out a new growth from this middle part, and we should get this, like I said earlier, this new flush of growth that we should hopefully get around September time. So that'll be interesting to see whether or not this method works. I know other people try this, and we didn't do this last year. We just cropped it all in one go. So, and just out of curiosity, as I say, we're growing Eddoes in the north of England here, but in places like Bangladesh where it grows in its natural climate and environment, they tend to easily produce what's called the side stems, or in Bengali we call it lota. Now I'm not saying this is lota by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll just keep an eye on it and see if we leave this plant intact throughout the whole of the year and see if it does produce any of those lota stems. If it does, then that's an absolute bonus, and I'll be delighted if that happens. Okay, so I've harvested the last of the Eddoe leaves, and you can see that this is mashallah, a substantial crop this year that we've got, and we're hoping that the idea of leaving some of the stems behind will give us a second crop, hopefully around September time. So yeah, let's see if we can get another crop going this year. in actual fact, only a week after we did our harvest, we're thinking that these large stems which I held back from cutting away need to be harvested, so I'm going to get on with that. And I want to be careful not to damage the new growth, which you can see here unfolding. It will do in a few days' time. And that crunching sound is a wonderful sound because it is suggesting that the stems are really full of moisture and fresh. And I think we really will leave it at that now. So this is some more Eddoe leaves or Kochu leaves that we want to add to our harvest from, like I say, about a week ago. Not bad at all. And at this point I can see that what I thought was going to be the runners or lota, in actual fact was just another plant that's growing from the base. And in actual fact I've also heard that it doesn't grow from the base, that lota actually grows from between the stems. So we learn something all the time. It's tomato harvesting day, and there are 1 or 2 tomatoes that are ready to pick from most of the plants in the polytunnel. Now this is the Christmas grape cherry that I was talking about, and like any other cherry, they pull away very easily. Now we like to get tomatoes of slightly different levels of ripeness. That's because we like the tanginess that you get from tomatoes that aren't fully ripe, but that's linked to how we use the food. I'll just come round this side and get some more. You'll notice that this wonderful bunch here of lemon tree tomato has got a truss that's really close to the ground, and like the other one, which you can see over here, I've needed to just put a protective barrier between the tomatoes and the soil. It must be this particular tomato variety because both these plants, you can see, have produced trusses very close to the ground, which I think is a bonus, because some years I've had certain varieties that haven't given me a truss until we've got maybe a foot and a half up, which I feel is a bit of a waste. So can't complain about that, but we just need to be careful about keeping it away from the soil. There's some gardener's delights that are a little bit further back that I'm going to just pick off. It's lovely, that. And gardener's delight, most growers of tomatoes will tell you, is a wonderful cherry type. It's sweet and it's a very heavy cropper as well. We'll just come round to this side. There's a couple of more here. Now this is the salad tomato called Ailsa Craig. It's one of my favourite tomatoes to grow, but in recent years I've been growing a rival tomato to this called Moneymaker, and they're both similar in stature. They both grow really well. This is a tried and tested variety, but I just had a gap of a couple of years of not growing Ailsa Craig, so I thought I'd try growing it again. And I don't know why I took that gap, because it's a wonderful tomato, and I'll be looking to try and grow some more next year. So for those of you who are thinking about next year and what varieties of fruit and vegetable you're considering growing, have a go at Moneymaker, or as you can see in this case, Ailsa Craig is another wonderful medium-sized tomato to be considering growing. I think that's not bad at all. So that's our little tomato haul. There might be one or two other plants that I'll venture out to see if we can get a few more tomatoes. But you can see that whilst we pick these, there'll be others that are yet to ripen. And hidden over here are well camouflaged tomatoes that with time will change colour, and you'll be able to see that these cherries are again going to be ready in about a week or two. We're in the third week of July now, and it's an overcast evening. I thought I'd have a stroll over to the allotment to see how things are getting on. Obviously, with the rain falling from the skies, we've not needed to worry about watering the outside plants, but just needed to pop over to make sure that everything in the polytunnel and greenhouses are okay. And the pears caught my attention. So it's looking like it'll be another good year for a pear harvest. Hopefully. The signs are looking good. As you can see, there's a real good clump of apples there. These won't get to a very large size, but they are certainly good tasting ones. And the area behind the polytunnel where we've got a mini orchard is looking really good as well. We've got a number of trees, mainly pear trees and apples. And whilst the blackberries are not anywhere near being ready, they are progressing well. This is the blackberry hedge that I've featured quite a bit on the channel. and this year it's looking like it's going to be another heavy crop.